touching story of a grandma's hardships sparks an amazing act of generosity. In the little town of Maple Grove, whispers of Grandma Agnes's legendary apple pies floated through the air like a sweet autumn breeze. Rumors claimed her crust was woven with memories, her apples hand-picked from the orchard of love she shared with her late husband, Henry. But the apple harvests of happiness were giving way to something darker. Mounting medical bills after Agnes's illness loomed like storm clouds threatening her quaint brick cottage, the very heart of her family's warmth. Each bill, crumpled and harsh, was an uninvited guest at her dinner table. They reminded her of the roaring laughter of family gatherings, now silenced, weaving only echoes against the walls that had once held so much joy. Loneliness wrapped around her brittle shoulders like an old shawl. Those familiar four walls felt more like a cage, shadowed by memories that danced away in the night. Just when despair threatened to pull her under, young Leo, a sprightly 10-year-old with a smile that could chase away rain, appeared at her doorstep. A child filled her afternoons with wild stories about aliens and heroes, and they shared countless cups of cocoa as the sun dipped below the horizon. In each tale, Agnes found a flicker of joy, a glimmer that pushed back against the chill of her solitude. But there was a storm brewing, unbeknownst to her. Leo's mother, Veronica, a sleek, stern woman with ambition woven into her very being, had plans far beyond the dreams of a boy and his beloved grandmother. She aimed to buy Agnes's home, a mere investment in a sea of properties, dismissing the emotional weight it held. The day Agnes stumbled across the inked papers in Leo's hands, her fingers trembling as she read the fine print denoting the impending sale, her heart plummeted. Betrayal stabbed through her like a chilly breeze, one that whispered of forgotten love and shattered dreams. "Why, Leo?" she gasped, confusion and pain twisting her insides. Desperate to reclaim her home, Agnes decided to host one last dinner. The smell of cinnamon and sugar wafted through the streets. Neighbors came, filling her house with warmth, laughter, and the scent of her famous apple pie. Yet just as the night was settling into a symphony of joy, Veronica made an unexpected entrance, her heels clicking against the wooden floor like ominous raindrops. The room fell silent. Tension sparked like a live wire. "Agnes," she said coolly, "I think it's time you hand over this place." Shock rippled through the crowd, and Leo swallowed hard, his young face contorting in confusion. Just as darkness threatened to swallow Agnes whole, Leo stepped forward, trembling but determined. "Mom, it's not just a house. It's her home." He fumbled, words tumbling out, of community, of love, of the many Christmases spent there. Meanwhile, whispers flared among the guests as hope flickered like candlelight, fighting against the winds of hopelessness. Would Veronica feel the pull of kindness over profit? Everything hung in the balance. Would they find a way to bridge the gap between heart and ambition? As uncertainty cast its long shadow, one question lingered. What sacrifices would they make to save the soul of a woman and her home? Hey, before we continue with this incredible story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without notice. Just take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content coming up. And since you're here, smash that like button because it really helps me with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who is part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. Leo stood tall, but doubt hung like heavy clouds. His small frame was quaking with the weight of his mother's authority, standing off to the side like a storm waiting to break. Mom, it's not just a house. It's her home. His voice cracked, a pleading tremor intertwined with youthful bewilderment. The room was frozen, eyes darting between the two. Love versus ambition. Veronica's gaze hardened, her ambition like steel. Leo, we need to think about our future, she began, steel lacing her voice. But just as she rallied to take charge, the front door swung open with a creak that echoed through the stillness. At the threshold stood a shadowy figure. Philip, Agnes's estranged son, the one who left years ago, chasing dreams across the country. The collective gasp from the crowd was palpable, thick with disbelief. Philip was a ghost from the past, a haunting presence wrapped in a confident smirk, like he knew all the secrets of their lives. "Did I hear something about selling family?" he called, his voice smooth but biting. All eyes turned to him, flickering from shock to confusion. The warmth of Agnes's home seemed to shiver under the sudden chill of his arrival. "What are you doing here?" Agnes's voice was a fragile whisper, a candle flickering. Against a harsh wind, he stepped forward, defiance in his stride, the uninvited specter of his past palpable. "I've come for what's rightfully mine," he stated, scanning the room, challenging the very essence of their existence. "This house is mine to inherit." Anger and hurt swirled in Agnes's chest. Years of love and sacrifice surged within her, but they were shackled by pain, a pain that mirrored the years Philip had been absent. He continued, his voice rising. "You can't sell it, Mom. I have a say. I deserve a piece of this." The tension snapped like a fragile branch. Leo's heart raced. His world was tilting. "But this is Grandma's home. You can't take it from her." His child's plea hung in the air, full of innocence, yet weighted with truth. Veronica watched, puzzled, her plans unraveling. Her dreams of flipping the property were slipping away like sand through her fingers. "This doesn't change anything," she declared, her bravado faltering just a bit. "It's still about money." As Agnes stared at Philip, she felt a rush of memories, distant laughter, bickering, moments of a love turned bitter, bread shared over arguments, and dreams crushed by silence. "You abandoned this family," she finally said, her voice steadying, though tremors kissed her words. "You have no idea what this home means to me, or why it stands strong despite every storm." Philip's face twisted, a mask of hurt, but something darker flickered in his eyes. Was it jealousy? Anger? Desire? "It's not just your memories, Mom. This house has debts. You've kept me in the dark all these years," he retorted, unearthing a buried wound. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from the kitchen, a pot clanging to the floor. All heads whipped toward the sound. The moment was electrifying. They crept closer, curious, vowing to find the source of chaos. And then, through the doorway, out stumbled Charlie, the elderly neighbor, his weathered hands shaking as he clutched a letter. "Agnes." He gasped, "You need to see this." He handed her the crumpled note, and the blood drained from her face. As she read the words, echoing shocks rolled through the crowd. The letter divulged a shocking truth. The home was not just a family heirloom, but a trap of hidden debt that Agnes had kept under wraps. And worse, Philip was merely the tip of a deeper betrayal. Eyes widened, jaws dropped, the emotions swirled into a tempest. Agnes's heart raced, confusion and dread washing over her. What were the real stakes here? Could her beloved home turn into a thief of all she held dear? In this moment, a new chapter began. A heart-wrenching struggle against secrets that could rip apart everything she tried to protect. What truths lay hidden in the walls of her home? And could love even survive this storm? The room held its breath, hearts racing in sync with Agnes's thundering pulse. She clutched the crumpled letter, its truths stabbing deeper. With every moment, secrets whispered from the paper like ghosts ready to unveil themselves, each word heavy with dread. Her thoughts spiraled. Hidden debts? Betrayal? The weight felt suffocating, piercing through her fragile resolve. Charlie stood frozen, confusion painted across his wrinkled face, while the whispers of the crowd buzzed angrily. "What do you mean, hidden debts?" someone hissed from the back. Agnes turned, just as Philip shouted, "You've lied to all of us!" "This house is a burden, and I—" But before he could finish, a loud crash erupted from the kitchen, freezing all conversation. Gasps filled the air. The sound of breaking glass shattered the moment, fraying the already strained atmosphere. Leo's eyes widened, and he bolted towards the kitchen. "Leo, wait!" Agnes called, her voice breaking, yet it was drowned out by another series of crashes. Suddenly, a figure stumbled out, arms flailing. It was Leo, disheveled, and behind him, a cascade of broken plates scattered like shattered dreams across the floor. "Grandma, look!" he cried, his voice frantic. Agnes rushed forward, her heart racing, but nothing could prepare her for what happened next. As Leo pulled something from the rubble, the crowd surged toward them, fueled by curiosity and rising panic. "What did you find?" Agnes asked, her voice almost a whisper, but her eyes widened at the sight. In Leo's tiny hands was an old, leather-bound journal, its edges frayed and cover scratched despite its worn beauty. It was buried under the plates, he exclaimed, breathing heavily. Veronica pushed into the throng, her posture rigid, a storm brewing in her icy gaze. "What's that?" she demanded, her tone slicing through the rising tension. As Leo opened the journal, the room hung in a veil of silence. The pages were filled with Agnes's handwriting, swirling emotions dripping from her ink. But Leo's eyes widened further as he reached a page flipped open. "Grandma, it's a list," his brow furrowed. "A list of—" A sharp gasp erupted from the audience. "What kind of list?" someone asked, the urge to know palpable in the air. Agnes stepped closer, fear knotting in her stomach. "What does it say, Leo?" His fingers trembled as he traced each line, shock washing over him, gathering the courage to speak. "It's a list of names. Names of people who borrowed money from you, Grandma, and some who never paid it back." He looked up, confusion clouding his youthful features. "Why didn't you tell us?" But as he read deeper, his brows furrowed with a deeper understanding. "And some of these names, they're people from our family." His voice trembled with disbelief. The energy in the room shifted sharply, a palpable dread settling over their faces. Agnes felt herself pale. Her entire past was unraveling in front of them, each name echoing in her mind like a damning chorus. Philip shifted uncomfortably, his expression darkening. "It's a trap," he spat, his voice rising again. "You've had us all fooled. This house was a facade to hide your failures." Agnes felt her pulse quicken as the room erupted in chaos. Accusations flew like arrows, piercing through familial ties, driving wedges in hearts where love once flourished. And then, like a lightning bolt tearing through the night, someone shoved their way through the emotions swirling in the room. A voice emerged, calm yet powerful, slicing through the frenzy. Agnes, I need you to listen to me. Everyone turned. It was Barbara, the family attorney, her expression grave and determined. The tension shattered, instantly replaced with curiosity and worry. There's more to this than you realize. You need to sit down. Just then, the lights flickered overhead. A shadow loomed in the doorway. A figure shrouded in darkness. I think I can clarify a few things. The room gasped, eyes wide in disbelief. Who was this new player? What secrets awaited them in the dim light? All had been shaken, and now the storm grew louder. The boundaries of safety twisted, yet clarity felt like a distant shore. Would the truth hold the family together, or tear them apart forever? The air was thick with tension. All eyes were glued to the figure in the doorway. Whoever had just walked in was about to change everything. "Who are you?" someone finally blurted. The crowd shifted uneasily, drawn to the stranger's sharp silhouette. Barbara stepped forward, her jaw clenched. "This isn't the time for games. We're in the middle of a family crisis." "I'm not here to play games, Barbara," the figure replied, stepping into the light. It was a woman, her hair a cascade of silver that shimmered like the moon. She looked oddly familiar, yet strangely out of place. "I'm Margaret," she paused, letting the name sink in. "Your mother, Agnes." A collective gasp erupted. Agnes's heart stopped. "What?" she whispered, disbelief washing over her like ice water. The tension fractured, splintering into confusion and chaos. "That's impossible!" Leo cried. "You left! You abandoned us!" But the woman stood unwavering, her eyes sharp and determined. "I had to leave. It was for your own good. And I've watched over you all from a distance. I thought it was best." A murmur swept through the crowd, each face a mirror of shock and disbelief. "You've been gone for years. Why now?" Agnes's voice cracked as she clutched the old journal tighter, feeling reality slip further from her grip. Margaret stepped closer, urgency in her voice. "There are things you don't know, secrets buried deep within this family. You don't understand the debts you're dealing with, Agnes. They're not just financial. They're deeply personal." Agnes felt the room spin. This woman, a ghost of her past, was turning everything she thought she knew upside down. Her heart ached with a mix of anger and confusion. "But you left us. You chose to disappear." "I had to protect you," Margaret insisted, her voice steady as stone. There was so much more going on than what it appeared. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from the kitchen again, jolting everyone's attention. Charlie had stumbled, struggling to keep upright as he gripped a half-empty bottle of vodka. "You need to stop this. You have no idea what you're about to unleash." "Stop?" Margaret's face twisted in anger. "I'm here to end the lies once and for all." Gasps filled the air, and the atmosphere buzzed with confusion. What was she talking about? Lies? Leo's voice trembled as he spoke up. "What do you mean?" Margaret narrowed her eyes at him, then turned back to Agnes. "You remember our old family stories, don't you? About the cursed heirloom? A piece of jewelry that has caused ruin. I thought it lost when I left, but it holds the truth behind our family's downfall. And some of those debts are owed to the darkest places." Agnes stumbled back, the weight of years collapsing around her. "What heirloom? What have you done?" "It's been a secret for too long. It's part of this house, buried so deep you'll never find it." Margaret's voice rose, fierce and explosive. "But it has its price. I didn't know what I was handing down." Panic sparked like lightning. The room shifted uneasily as eyes darted back and forth, from Margaret to Agnes, then to the journal that had uncovered so much. Was everything they thought to be true just a facade? Paper thin and waiting to shatter, and among all the chaos, a single question echoed loudly above the din. What else has been hidden within these walls? In that moment, Agnes felt everything change. With every secret unveiled, the family bonds began to crack, threatening to splinter into chaos as the past clawed its way to the surface. Would they be ready to face the truth, or would it tear them apart forever? The air was thick with tension. All eyes were glued to the figure in the doorway. Whoever had just walked in was about to change everything. "Who are you?" someone finally blurted. The crowd shifted uneasily, drawn to the stranger's sharp silhouette. Barbara stepped forward, her jaw clenched. "This isn't the time for games. We're in the middle of a family crisis. I'm not here to play games, Barbara," the figure replied, stepping into the light. It was a woman, her hair a cascade of silver that shimmered like the moon. She looked oddly familiar, yet strangely out of place. "I'm Margaret, your mother, Agnes." A collective gasp erupted. Agnes's heart stopped. "What?" she whispered, disbelief washing over her like ice water. The tension fractured, splintering into confusion and chaos. "That's impossible!" Leo cried. "You left! You abandoned us!" But the woman stood unwavering, her eyes sharp and determined. "I had to leave. It was for your own good, and I've watched over you all from a distance. I thought it was best." A murmur swept through the crowd, each face a mirror of shock and disbelief. "You've been gone for years. Why now?" Agnes's voice cracked as she clutched the old journal tighter, feeling reality slip further from her grip. Margaret stepped closer, urgency in her voice. "There are things you don't know, secrets buried deep within this family. You don't understand the debts you're dealing with, Agnes. They're not just financial. They're deeply personal." Agnes felt the room spin. This woman, a ghost of her past, was turning everything she thought she knew upside down. Her heart ached with a mix of anger and confusion. "But you left us. You chose to disappear." "I had to protect you," Margaret insisted, her voice steady as stone. There was so much more going on than what it appeared. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from the kitchen again, jolting everyone's attention. Charlie had stumbled, struggling to keep upright as he gripped a half-empty bottle of vodka. "You need to stop this. You have no idea what you're about to unleash." "Stop?" Margaret's face twisted in anger. "I'm here to end the lies once and for all." Gasps filled the air, and the atmosphere buzzed with confusion. What was she talking about? Lies? Leo's voice trembled as he spoke up. "What do you mean?" Margaret narrowed her eyes at him, then turned back to Agnes. "You remember our old family stories, don't you? About the cursed heirloom? A piece of jewelry that has caused ruin? I thought it lost when I left, but it holds the truth behind our family's downfall. And some of those debts are owed to the darkest places." Agnes stumbled back, the weight of years collapsing around her. "What heirloom? What have you done? It's been a secret for too long. It's part of this house, buried so deep you'll never find it." Margaret's voice rose, fierce and explosive. "But it has its price. I didn't know what I was handing down." Panic sparked like lightning. The room shifted uneasily as eyes darted back and forth, from Margaret to Agnes, then to the journal that had uncovered so much. Was everything they thought to be true just a facade, paper thin, and waiting to shatter? Then, with a piercing scream, Veronica lunged forward, her face twisted in shock. "Stop! You don't know what you're doing!" In her frantic rush, she accidentally knocked over an old lamp, and it shattered against the floor, breaking the heavy atmosphere into even more chaos. As the pieces hit the ground, everything seemed to pause. From the debris glimmered a glint of gold, a small locket that had been hidden beneath the table. It rolled out and came to a stop at Agnes's feet. The room went silent again, this time heavy with dread. Everyone stared at the locket. Agnes fell to her knees, her heart racing. She recognized it. It was the heirloom, the one they had all whispered about in frightened tones. With trembling hands, she picked it up. Her breath caught as she opened it. Inside were tiny portraits, two faces she didn't expect to see. The likenesses were hauntingly familiar. She gasped, eyes widening. This is me and... The air shifted again, filled with a fresh wave of tension. "Mom?" Leo's voice trembled. "Who is that other woman?" Before Agnes could respond, a low rumble filled the house. The walls seemed to tremble, as if they were alive. Pictures shook. And then, without warning, a violent crack split the air. The ceiling above them began to cave, dust falling like snow. Panic erupted in the room as everyone dove for cover. Amidst the chaos, Agnes stood frozen, the locket clutched tightly in. Her hand. It was the key to everything she didn't know. Her pulse pounded. What new secrets were about to come crashing down? And would they survive what was unfolding above them? Agnes's heart raced as she clutched the locket tighter, its weight somehow both comforting and menacing. The world around her blurred, and the ceiling was creaking like an old ship about to capsize. Her pulse quickened. This was the moment of truth. What did Margaret mean? What other secrets could be buried in this house? Just then, another crack echoed through the room. Dust rained down, forcing everyone to duck. "Get down!" Barbara yelled, her voice slicing through the chaos as she pulled Leo close. Agnes's knees felt weak, but she refused to drop the locket. The faces inside seemed to stare back at her, demanding answers. Her mother? Why had she come back now, after all these years? Margaret stepped closer, urgency flaring in her eyes. "Listen to me. You must find the locket's twin. It's the key to everything. The secrets, the lies, they all lead back to that heirloom. There's a curse." "A curse?" Agnes gasped, the weight of the word hanging like a storm cloud. Agnes's world tipped again as the ceiling cracked louder, shuddering above them. The light bulbs flickered, casting shadows of uncertainty around the room. "We don't have time for this," Veronica shouted. "We need to get out of here." But no one moved. They were transfixed by the revelations unraveling before them. Before Agnes could respond, the floor trembled. The room seemed to tilt as the smoke alarm screeched to life, a deafening clamp of sound. And then an explosion shook the house. A wall burst open, sending debris flying like confetti. Agnes shielded Leo, her heart thundering in her chest. Dust and wood splintered everywhere. Screams erupted around her. "Out now!" Barbara cried, but her voice was drowned in chaos. Agnes barely noticed as a large rafter fell, narrowly missing Margaret, who had to dive to the side. That's when Agnes stumbled backward and collided with something solid. She turned to see Philip, his face twisted into a mask of fury. "Stop this!" he yelled, his voice booming in the electric tension. "You don't understand. You're putting everyone at risk. The children!" Agnes's breath caught in her throat. "Risk? You mean the risk you brought when you decided to show up. You're only here for yourself." But just then, through the choking dust, a flash of light darted across the room. Agnes turned to see a silhouette emerging from the smoke. A figure too familiar, too much like a ghost. "Mom!" Philip shouted, eyes wide. Agnes's heart sank. "What do you mean, Mom? What do you know?" As the figure stepped closer, a clarity emerged from the chaos. Agnes's world flipped upside down, when she recognized the woman's face, someone she had buried deep in her memory. "Mom?" Agnes murmured, feeling the world tilt further. "But you were never gone. You've been here all along." The woman grinned, a chilling smile that stripped Agnes of comprehension. "I never left, Agnes. I was always watching, always controlling. This house, these secrets, they were never just yours. They were ours." Agnes staggered, clutching the locket as betrayal washed over her like icy water. "What do you mean?" "It harbors a powerful artifact, one you were never supposed to inherit." The air surged with fear. Agony blared through the hearts of everyone present. Relationships crumbled under the weight of deceit. And as the walls around them began to buckle, a new question emerged, so heavy it made the ground shake. "What have you done?" Suddenly, another loud crash reverberated from the kitchen, signaling more destruction was on the way. The room spun as realization kicked in. If they didn't escape now, everything they believed could collapse around them. But who could Agnes trust when even her own mother had been a deceitful shadow? Agnes's heart raced as she clenched the locket tight. The room trembled. Dust fell like rain. Frantic thoughts spiraled. Everything was breaking apart, just like her family. She felt the weight of betrayal crashing down. And there stood her mother, a figure from a ghost story come to life, unraveling everything she thought she knew. "Leave now," Agnes shouted, desperate to shake off the fear clinging to her. "You don't belong here." Margaret stepped closer, fury swarming in her eyes. "I'm here because you need to know the truth, Agnes. This house isn't just a place. It's the heart of a darkness that has plagued our family for generations." "What are you talking about?" Agnes demanded, voice wavering as the ceiling creaked ominously above. Margaret's gaze flickered to the locket. "That heirloom is cursed. It was meant to be hidden away, and every moment it's in your possession, it feeds on our shame." A shadow cast the room in gloom. Agnes backed away, sensing the truth slicing through her fog of disbelief. "You mean it's my fault? The debts? The lies?" "Yes, it was never just about money. It's about secrets we buried to protect ourselves, and they have come back to haunt us." Margaret's voice soared, intertwining with the chaos surrounding them. Suddenly, another loud crack echoed through the living room. The walls shook, sending shards of plaster to the ground. Panic surged through the crowd, pushing everyone to rush toward the door. But as they stumbled in a blind frenzy, something unbelievable happened. Agnes felt a jolt, her stomach flipping. From the back of the room, Philip stumbled forward, clutching his chest, a wild look in his eyes. "No, I can't breathe, it's too much." "Philip," Agnes shouted as she saw him buckle, his strength failing as he hit the floor with a thud. Time paused. Everyone turned. Drawing in a sharp breath, she felt bile rise, confusion mixing with terror. "Someone help him," she cried. But nobody moved. And then, just like that, the air shifted. A cloud of thick, darker smoke billowed from the kitchen, enveloping the living room in an oppressive blanket. The room gasped, the atmosphere electric with fear. In the chaos, Agnes's hand tightened around the locket, and when she caught Margaret's frantic gaze, she noticed something glimmer on her mother's wrist, a matching locket. "What is that?" Agnes whispered, a sinking sensation pulling her deeper. Margaret looked down and then met Agnes's eyes, her face a mask of fear. "You don't understand. It was meant to keep us connected. It—" "Connected?" Agnes's voice cut through the smoke. "To? What? Lies? Deceit? You're just as mixed up in this. You knew all along." But before Margaret could respond, a loud rumble filled the space, stronger than the worst thunderstorm, shaking the very foundation of the house. Suddenly, there was a blinding flash of light, brighter than anything Agnes had ever seen. She shielded her eyes in shock as the light grew, wrapping around the room like a ribbon. And for a moment, everyone froze. Breaths caught in their throats as if time itself had paused. Then, everything exploded. The light burst, sending an unearthly sound reverberating through the air. Screams rang out, but they were drowned by the flames that erupted from the kitchen, licking the walls and turning everything to chaos. Agnes stumbled backward, everything careening out of control. The locket slipped from her grip, tumbling towards Philip's lifeless body. In that moment, she realized with a sickening jolt what the other locket meant. It wasn't just family. It was a part of a twisted pact, binding them each to a darkness they could never escape. As the flames soared higher, engulfing Margaret and casting shadows across their faces, she could feel the ground give way beneath her, the truth clawing at her soul. "Mom?" Leo cried, pulling at Agnes's shirt, eyes wide with terror. And as the chaos spiraled around them, and the walls groaned under the weight of betrayal, one thought flashed in Agnes's mind. What if her mother wasn't just a keeper of secrets, but a key to a life they never shared? The flames danced, and as she glanced back at Philip, a chilling realization struck her. What if she didn't know him at all? And what if everything she believed, every bond, every moment of joy, was a guise for a much darker truth? Would anyone survive this inferno, or would their family break into ashes at her feet? Agnes's heart pounded like a drum in her chest. The heat wrapped around her, stifling her breath, and every ounce of clarity slipped through her fingers like sand. The flames danced, twisting into nightmarish figures, as if they had intentions of their own. She felt her world crumbling down. "Mom!" she shouted, desperately reaching for Margaret. But Margaret stood frozen in that blinding light, her face a mixture of fear and resolve. Leo clutched Agnes's leg, eyes wide with terror, that innocent gaze cutting through the chaos like a knife. "We have to get out, now!" he cried, his voice shaking, pulling at her to move. Suddenly, from the depths of the smoke, a low rumble erupted, swelling into a deafening roar. The wall behind Margaret shattered. Splintered wood and bricks flew through the air like bullets. Panic erupted in the room, everyone scrambling toward the door, adrenaline driving them. But within the chaos, Agnes suddenly felt a pull, as if something beyond her reached for her. She glanced back at Margaret. "You can't stay here, come on!" "That's just it," Margaret yelled back, her voice strained. "I can't leave! I have to end this!" Agnes stumbled back, her mind racing. "End what?" The air quaked as she shouted, and in that moment of doubt, everything seemed to go still. Then, without warning, there was an ear-splitting crack as the ceiling beam above Margaret splintered. In a blink, the beam fell, but it was not just the beam that plunged downward. A figure tumbled from the shadows, a man, tall and wild-haired, his face dirty and twisted with rage. "Everyone get back!" he bellowed, arms flailing, eyes wide and haunted. Agnes's breath caught in her throat. "Sam?" Sam looked straight at Agnes, and in that instant, the memories raced back. Her brother. Long thought lost. Years since she last saw him, swallowed by the chaos of their family's betrayals. But this man was not the boy she remembered. His face was marred by pain and a lifetime of untold stories. "Sam! Why are you here?" She stumbled, fighting to process this sudden shift. "I was trying to save you," he shouted, stepping forward, as the flames roared around them like a pack of wild wolves. "You don't understand, Agnes. It goes deeper than you know. They have been lying to you. All of them." "What are you talking about? What lies?" Then the chaos exploded. Flames licking the walls, shouting filled the air, pulling everyone into their primal instincts of survival. But Sam continued, his voice piercing through the madness. "It's not just about the house. It's about us, about the deal Dad made. We're all tied to this, tied to a curse that's feeding off our pain." What curse? She felt the walls closing in, anger pulsing out of her. The fire crackled angrily behind her, urging her to flee. Yet she was rooted in place. "Mom isn't the keeper of secrets. She's the origin," Sam blasted, pouring out his truth with every breath. "All of it, and I've come to stop her." Gasps filled the room. Silence replaced the chaos for a moment, giving it all context, like a jigsaw puzzle snapping into place. Margaret gasped, her face losing color. "You were never supposed to know." Agnes's hands shook as the truth unfurled around her. All those years of separation, anger, pain, it bubbled up to the surface. "Is this why you left? Why you were never here?" "Because it was all a lie. The debts, the pain, they were part of the deal," Sam shouted above the roaring flames. "We've been tied to the family's heart of darkness. We need to break it." Suddenly, a wall collapsed, sending more debris careening towards them. "Agnes!" Leo screamed, pulling at her. Agnes stood still for a heartbeat longer, staring into Sam's wild eyes. "What do we do?" "There's no choice." His voice surged with urgency. "We have to destroy the locket. It's the only way to shatter the curse." But her heart sank. The locket was her past, her connections laid bare. "I can't. It's all I have left." But as the flames climbed higher and engulfed everything around them, Sam reached out, desperation written all over his face. "Agnes, this is about survival. It's us or this cursed legacy. Choose." With that, a wave of heat burst forth, and Agnes finally felt the truth settle in. Everything she thought she knew was just the tip of a dark iceberg. What had her family built on lies? What had she sacrificed? What would she risk to break free? And as the flames roared higher, threatening to swallow them all, one question pierced her thoughts. Could she really destroy the only piece that tied her to family? Would she dare to save herself instead? Agnes's breath was shallow, the heat of the flames creeping closer, wrapping around her like a living thing. Sam's words thundered in her mind, slicing through the chaos. "Destroy the locket." The fire roared, demanding attention, urging her to act. She felt weighty despair as memories flashed by, intertwining with the impending danger. "Agnes, now!" Sam shouted, shoving her towards the door. Leo clutched her hand, fear pooling in his eyes, and her heart twisted. "We can't let the house win, please!" He pulled her closer, begging her to remember they were the ones who had to survive. But she hesitated, pain mingling with the fiery urgency around them. "I can't just let it go." Agnes felt the locket burning in her palm, so small, yet teeming with years of burden. She knew if she let it go, she'd let everything go. Family ties, memories, the love and sorrow that swirled inside her. Then, from the corner of the room, Margaret gasped, her eyes growing wide. "Agnes, you don't understand. The locket, it's only part of a greater plan." "What are you talking about?" Confusion mixed with terror, pressing against her chest as she felt the flames lick at her heels. But Margaret was too frantic now, her voice clashing with the sudden cracking of plaster above. You need to listen. That locket, it chooses. It chooses who to bind to our legacy? Legacy? You mean the curse? Agnes shouted, the words bursting forth uncontrollably. Yes, Margaret screamed, backing away from the flames. But it also connects to another piece, the other locket, the one I've hidden for years. It's the key! We have to— Before she could finish, another series of cracks sounded, and the ceiling shifted with a terrible groan. Splintered beams began to fall, launching debris across the room. Sam rushed forward, scooping Agnes and Leo under his protection as the world around them fell apart. "Run! We need to get out!" he shouted, pushing them toward the door while trying to shield them from falling timbers. The heat churned around them. Suddenly, as they stumbled through the smoke, Agnes's foot caught something and she stumbled to the ground. As she fell, she saw a flash of gold in the ashes. The other locket, the twin to the one she held. No, it can't be. In a frantic motion, she scooped it up, its surface unmarred by the devastation, glinting mysteriously against the darkness. Holding both lockets, something shifted in her mind. "Mom!" she screamed, turning to Margaret, whose face blended fear with longing. "We can end this!" Margaret yelled, reaching forward, her hands shaking. "Bind them together! It will stop the destruction!" But before Agnes could comply, Leo cried out. "Look!" He pointed to a figure emerging through the smoke. Another man, wild-eyed and disheveled, stumbled forward. Agnes's breath caught as she locked eyes with him. "Bill?" she whispered. The man's eyes widened in realization. "Agnes, is that really you?" Shock cascaded through the room. Bill, her younger brother who had vanished years ago, the same brother everyone thought lost to the chaos of their family. The fire crackled louder, smoke swirling like thick fog, wrapping around their horrified expressions. "What are you doing here?" Agnes said, her heart racing. "There's no time," Bill shouted, rushing towards them. "They've lied. The locket. It's not just a piece of jewelry. It carries something deeper, something more sinister. It binds souls. I've come to break it." Agnes dropped the other locket, confusion dizzying her thoughts. "Break what? What do you mean?" But just then, flames ignited more fiercely around them. It was all happening so fast. Bill lunged toward them, narrowing the gap, urgency radiating from every movement. "The locket isn't just a curse, it's a trap." "What are you talking about?" Margaret's voice shook, her body quaking as the heat surged. "We have to work together." "No!" Bill's face twisted in anger. "It was you who unleashed this onto us. You've been pulling the strings." The floor beneath them shook violently, sending everyone sprawling. In a chaotic scramble, Agnes grasped both lockets, mind racing. What tangled lies had been woven into their lives? What had they unknowingly become a part of? As Margaret's face twisted with disbelief, the fiery chaos choose. Who will you protect? Tension rippled through the air. In that chaotic swirl of fear and desperation, unknown loyalties fell apart. Could she trust the brother she thought she had lost? Could she abandon the mother who had brought her into this world? The flames surged higher, threatening to cut off her escape. Who could she trust in this unraveling storm? The questions roared in her mind as her heart raced. Would she dare decide who lived or died? And as everything burned around her, the truth echoed louder, demanding answers at a time when certainty felt like ashes in her mouth. What would it take to free them all from this deadly web? Agnes tightened her grip on the twin lockets, the weight of her family's legacy pulling her in every direction. Flames crackled, heat surging like a dragon unleashed, and time felt suspended as the moments of truth collided. Do it, Agnes! Bind them! Sam urged, his voice a raw edge over the noise. The urgency filled her, a rush of adrenaline chilling her bones. But doubt gnawed at her. Whatever she chose would change everything, perhaps even cost them their lives. "What if it makes things worse?" she stammered, the fear thick on her tongue. "This is our chance," Bill shouted, as sparks flew around them. "You hold the power. Together, we can break this cycle." Together? Agnes's chest felt tight as memories of their fractured family flickered in her mind. Years lost in accusations, abandoned hopes. Yet here they stood, survivors, united in this hour of reckoning. Could they really be whole again? The flames roared louder, consuming the air around them, pushing them toward the brink of despair. "You don't have a choice, Agnes." Margaret's desperate cry cut through the madness, piercing through the shadows. "You must choose to free us." Then it struck her. The locket wasn't just a tether, a burden. It was a gateway forged from shared pain, love, and the chaos they had each perpetuated. She felt a stirring within her, a deep-rooted connection to each family member encased in the moment. "If I let this go, will you be free? Will we all be free?" Margaret nodded, earnestly, her eyes shimmering with a blend of hope and fear. "Yes, but you'll need to face the darkness, together." In a heartbeat, Agnes stepped forward, pressed the two lockets together, and closed her eyes against the inferno blazing around them. "For us!" she shouted, her voice slashing through the chaos. With a mighty crash, the lockets fused in her grasp, emitting a blinding light that swallowed the darkness around them. An otherworldly hum engulfed the room, reverberating through the very bones of her family. She felt the heat recede, the terrifying flames replaced with a draft of cool air, breathing life into the very fabric of their connection. Then, silence. A profound stillness enveloped them as the light faded, revealing a transformed space. The flames dwindled to mere embers, the walls no longer crumbling but solid, the air infused with a palpable sense of release woven into each breath. Agnes opened her eyes as the weight of time pressed against her, fears melting away. Margaret stood tall, tears streaming down her face, an expression of relief washing over her. "We are free, finally." Bill moved closer and hugged her tight, a gesture that spoke volumes, forging a new bond from the ashes of the past. Leo rushed into Agnes's arms, his young heart racing with joy, the danger of moments before becoming just shadows in the swiftly darkening night. "Are we okay?" Leo's voice trembled, but was buoyed by newfound hope. Agnes knelt down, cradling him in her arms once more. "Yes, sweetheart, we will be okay." It felt real, safe, light bursting through into their lives. But a familiar voice echoed behind them. "What about me?" Philip stepped forward, his expression wavering between disbelief and regret, the anger fading into resignation. "What now?" Agnes turned, meeting his eyes. "You can choose too. We can all choose." The words hung in the air, thicker than blood or betrayals. A profound understanding weaving into the atmosphere. As the family gathered, a peculiar calm settled, fragments of their past now binding them rather than tearing them apart. They stepped through the remnants of what once was, united by reclamation, facing their brokenness together. In those moments, Agnes murmured, "Goodbye to all the pain." The house that had held despair now embraced them with a gentle warmth, and in the fading light of the fire that had threatened their lives, hope resurfaced. With shared laughter and tears, Agnes felt a weight lift, peace filling the void. Today marked a new chapter, forged from rage, truth, and unwavering resilience. As dusk settled, they stepped outside, feeling the cool air against their skin. Relief washing over as the night sky twinkled above like stars reborn. Agnes could hear the whispers of their ancestors, the bonds mending as her family finally began to heal. A profound silence enveloped them, leaving behind the chaos, forging their future anew. It was over, but in the afterglow, Agnes turned back to her family, determination sparking a new flame within her. Their legacy didn't end in flames, it soared. Now they had to embrace tomorrow, whatever it held. Before you go, this is the moment to show your support. You have to subscribe right now so you don't miss out on any exclusive stories coming your way. Smash that like button right now to feed the algorithm and let everyone join this journey. Flood the comments section with your thoughts and theories about this ending. What did you think? Don't wait even one more second to share this with at least 5 friends who need to see how this ends. Your support is what keeps this channel thriving. Let's keep this family growing.